Yeah, and this is going to be a fun one. To, teams not up towards that upper echelon, but we could start seeing them make their way up. We are going to be on Symbiotic Surface, a convergence map. And it's going to be really interesting to see if any targeting comes through. We've been seeing lots of bans on things like Luna, as of more recently, shutting down things like the Namor, already having the Venom, though, being taken off the table by the Shocks.
Yeah, it's worth noting as well that because of the open tournament client in the game, you can watch tape on your opposing teams. You can definitely read out what is likely to come up in what maps if they've been played previously. There's no way to hide that tape if it was on an official tournament game. So Shocked, WePlayWolv, maybe they've done their homework. They've had some time coming into this matchup, given that they didn't play yesterday. Their last games were on Sunday. They've known the matchup for a while.
Yeah, so definitely could have done their research coming through. And we pointed out, Luna is something that typically likes to be taken off the table on this map more recently, but is going to get protected. So we are going to be able to see the cheeky team up with Namor. Might be able to get the Jeff that we were hoping for earlier on. But sadly, Leg Day, we aren't going to be able to get rid of Winter Soldier. This man is here to stay.
Yeah, Winter Soldier definitely going to be one of the protects that is going to bear a lot of fruit for the teams that feel that they are better playing around the Kraken Impact. The Kraken Impact, essentially at the moment, I think is the most esports defining ultimate in all of Marvel Rivals. It is an absolute nightmare to deal with, especially if you have a Loki on your team, and most teams are trying to get some value out of that Loki due to the huge amount of healing and utility that he brings out, especially because it means you can have two Fate of Both Worlds, two Lunar Ultimates. That's like 24 seconds of being essentially invincible.
Yeah, and even just the rune that he brings is going to be able to provide an insane amount of value, making sure that the Winter Soldier on the opposite side isn't going to be able to find as much burst value. But like you said, a lot of it coming down to those Kraken impacts. The fact that they have a Loki to play against does at least set up for more of those resets, since you can get that off of the clone.
Yeah, getting those extra resets can really also mess with the timings of how to defensively play against the Kraken Impact as well, because then you've got to deal with 8 more seconds of being able to leap back up into the air. Also means 8 seconds of on-demand CC immunity, a very underrated aspect of the Kraken Impact, is that during the leap you are CC immune, so you can dodge something like, say, a Eye of Agamotto, especially since we have 2 teams currently shooting for Doctor Strange here. I'm likely going to see something like Kazumiya setting up to have a drop-down portal on top of Binary to stop the initial cast of their own offensive portal.
This place makes me
I'm not going to have that come through just yet. We are going to have Shocks be able to just inch their way forward. Honestly, both sides pretty happy with just playing this extended poke game. I feel like we're looking at both Namors and Winter Soldiers to see if either of them can just out-aim the enemy and just find one of those one-off hits.
Yeah, a little squid bomb, as we've come to call it in EMEA, coming through from a Namor. Dropping 2 of those Monstro spawns and hitting a right click to enrage them can be everything. Actually, a 2v1 has been manufactured here between this player's name, which I'm not going to say.
Good call. Good call.
Taking down Luthern. Great pick early, even if I disagree with your nomenclature.
Yeah. Still, and is even going to play a little bit dirty, right? Having that friend in the background, but still, Shocks is completely wiping out WePlayWolves, taking them down one at a time, a lot of it being opened up by that Namer, which will not be named.
Yeah, we'll call him the Namor.
We'll call Plushie.
Plushie. Yeah, Plushies. Plushie is a great name. Good call. Let's use that. Interestingly, I was expecting Wengrove to be able to maybe get a little bit more pressure off onto the midst of shots, while Plushies was managing to find that 2v1. Move the health on Jacko early. Whoa, what a pick right there. Big bionic hook into the Trooper's fist to try and drag Z in. And that's a little bit of a physics exploit coming through. Plushies goes down to Binary early. Justice for all of us with untainted minds.
Yeah, I really love how Binary's playing this, really leading his team from the Vanguard role, just walking them down with that shield, using cover efficiently now. 3 ultimates available on the side of WePlayWolves, but 4 up for Shocks. Actually, we're getting really close, like they could just every ultimate being up as Luthor finds another.
Nice long range trident there. Would have enraged any squids. are active in the midst of all of this, but Binary for now is just presenting this wall that can't be passed by at the moment. Yes, a Monstro spawn will occasionally slip the net, and we have seen a Blessing of a Deep invested here from Luthern, but WePlayWolv, they have so much in the way of reinforcing factors coming through from ultimates being available.
Oh, I have Agamotto.
Sounds like he's mostly been dodged. I don't see any stun icons. Meteor M takes to the sky. Lots of damage. Marty blasted apart by the Meteor M right here. WePlayWolv investing both of their Vanguard ultimates. Gives out waiting out all of these ultimates. Plays down on top of them with multiple people afflicted with the culling. A damage boost comes through to try and make sure that Horde of Proteus can get it done. But Jarko already going absolutely massive with the Kraken impact. And WePlayWolv, well, they're going to be wishing they had that healing factor.
Yeah, WePlayWolves getting destroyed. Shock's doing a really great job, especially with the Meteor M to set up for Jocko to just find those resets. We talked about how that can be utilized on the Loki clones as well, and Shock's just getting so much value out of that play. Still a ton of time on the clock, too, with 3 minutes and 15 seconds.
Surprise assault here onto the Namor. Drops a bunch of monsters. He wants them to try and cover the escape. It seems like for now, Floshy's just going to be able to get away with their life for a moment. Wengrove has their own way here with the Kraken. In fact, nice turnaround once it's directly on top of the Luna. The culling comes on through, reset after reset. Well, it's the same story again as 4 players have already fallen at the hands of the Bucky. This is the current story in Marvel Rivals Esports. We say it again and again and again.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Like, in my mind, we can even go beyond Marvel Rivals Esports. This is just an esports ultimate. You know what I mean? This is what you would expect when you come into a game like this. And the most impressive part about that, though, is that Wendro really set it all up himself, finding the bionic hook to start, you know, that chain of resets.
And forcing out utility, using their bionic hook in the neutral as well. Jarko, Grotterstern down range, too much damage to deal with after taking a cheeky off angle. Dark Maelstrom's going to get Kazumi a real low, and while Wendro is going to be moving forward here to try and keep it up, Grotterstern accuracy is just brutal for shots.
Yeah, it's just so hard walking in. Wendro doing a great job. And Binary as well. Seriously, he is putting so much pressure on them, absorbing all that damage. And now through this small choke point, Shocks are really struggling to find a way in.
Flushy's not going to have a damage boost coming through from the Fate of Both Worlds to try and reinforce the use of a Horn of Proteus. So I can onto that for now. Look at that. Vanilla Poke is taking down Z. Somehow falling through the Stranded just noticed. Maybe they're distracted elsewhere by trying to reinforce a flank, but not particularly acceptable for Shots as they come up once again towards a 12 ultimate fight. But already Post going all the way if we go Wolf.
Yeah, they're forcing them even back further. They're pretty much right in front of their spawn doors. They know the big ult fight's coming. Right now, Shock's just waiting for Kazumiya to get the Strange Ult online.
Forward hold makes sense when there are 12 ultimates on the field. You really want to try and force Shocks to use ultimates just to claim this space, which isn't particularly important to the current position of the vehicle. That mission area having gone a little bit too far already. Luthern tries to disengage. Out comes the Kraken impact. It's going to be reinforced with the Fate of Both Worlds. Answered, of course. Fate versus Fate going up into the sky, trying to block out Meteor M using the invincibility of Blessing of the Deep. Damage boost means that Plushies can't survive this. Up into the sky. Nice dodge on the Eye of Agamotto, using that CC immunity we mentioned earlier to avoid the incoming Doctor Strange pressure. Binary has their own here. When all is said and done to try and put a full stop on this fight, 30 seconds remain. It's actually just the raw DPS output of Voloki that gets rid of Kazumiya.
Yeah, not even having to use that God of Mischief just yet. Hell, even having the Eye of Agamotto still available for Binary. Really nice hold coming out from WePlayWolves. And I think a lot of it came down to Wendro being able to hold onto that Kraken impact, waiting for the apex of the fight to finish out. Shocks doing all they could, though. Portal comes through.
Already playing towards the high ground here. Oh, Marty taken down through the portal itself. The pentagram of Farala is not in itself a shield. You need the Seraphim for that. Kazumiya afflicted by a damage boost coming through from that Fate of Both Worlds means that there's nothing that can resist the raw output of the Namor. And despite a very quick first point take, this offense fell apart in seconds.
Yeah, I mean, we really saw WePlayWolves find their footing. I feel like a lot of that was off the foundation of Binary, how much space he was able to take, great use of the shield in terrain. And I mean, Luther and Wengro were popping off, especially at the end there. Luther doing such a great job finding those headshots.
Yeah, honestly, the mechanics we've seen from Wengro and Luther may well be able to bring it to some of our top teams here in EMEA, where we have some fantastic mechanical aimers. Sparker, some might say, one of the best in the world. Of course, you think about like Delana, Happy from North America and Asia, respectively, who might be joining them in that kind of mechanical GOAT status right now. But every single team could be the next top one here at MRC.
And it definitely feels like that's a component of what is needed. It might sound simple, it might sound overreactionary, but especially a lot of time when a lot of comps end up being, you know, double shield, strange Magneto, poke battles, I feel like a lot of the time we see games decided by the opening picks that people find just from individual skill. So great to see that coming out here from WePlayWolves. Also really liking the value that we got from the Loki pick in the last round.
No team going to invest too early here when it comes to that pentagram of Ferala. The portal unopened for now, maybe hoping to save it for a last-second contest or a quick recapture of momentum after a team wipe. You can see, of course, Namor's going to be holding up on the right-hand side here. Plushies going to be trying to avoid the same 2 versus 1 that actually stole the point away from WePlayWolv.
Yeah, and for now, it really just looks like it's about our Winter Soldiers looking for those hooks. We saw Jocko angling for one before, but couldn't find it. Namor Squids, though, doing work. Lutheran finds the first, but it's already answered by Ziku onto the Loki. The Wolves are really taking this one.
Oh, Wengro just hitting the double. What? Just seeing into the dark dimension there, managing to find themselves the Namor when no one else could. WePlayWolv gonna have an equally fast take on first, as we're gonna see Luther and wait to change their spawn forward. Because you know what? Why get your cardio in when you can just teleport?
Exactly, right? Why? You know, he is not like the Jeff the Landshark discussion we were having earlier. He doesn't need those gains. But this is where it gets hard, right? This is the choke point where it really feels like the defense can just pummel you down, as we see Alora being taken down. Goes back up in time to get some nice heals.
It's all about good leveraging of a high ground here. We saw so many times Wengro being able to get those hooks from the high ground and then punch players into positions that were so hard to help. Luther might get 2v1'd here. You can see Buff Zhao and Plushies coming through. Could you get the 2v1? The reversal? Wait, oh my goodness, Luther gets 2. Unreal gap when it comes to the duelists. There's an inexcusable, honestly, when 2 of my duelists go for the one Namor and don't even force out the blessing of the deep.
And it's so sad that I feel like that's how it goes a lot of the time as a Namor. You pop into a couple of people, you go up in your shell and your squid. Oh, well,
goodbye.
Going to stagger that timer on Wrecker. But yeah, honestly, so sad for Shocks, but huge by Luther.
Yeah, trying to get rid of that great contesting portal as well. Actually coming through from the back for Meteor Ram. Shield throw raid, but Phalanx is brought up. Testudo too much for the well-placed Allura. Meteor Ram, both Marty and Jakao found at the worst possible time. The charge was good, and the Invisible Woman was flattened under a big metal meter ball.
Yeah, that was great, right? Uses the shield, blocks out the first Meteor Ram, comes in with his own. This is a really dominant performance in game 1 by Wolves once they found their footing, right? You kind of mentioned it. Shock were able to get to their point quite fast, but from then everything was really shut down, and it feels like that's where people like Lutheran were really able to come online. God, Wengro.
Yeah, 16 final hits is kind of all she wrote, right? 26-2 overall. Luther winning that 2v1 on the off angle as well. Kind of wild that they managed to grab both Jakao and Plushies. This is, of course, only the first map in a 1st to 2, so there's still room for Shock to try and come back here. Personally, I might ban the Bucky if need be. Like, sometimes you got to say, okay, when it comes to hyper carries, maybe their hyper carry is currently really strong. So maybe we try and go. Maybe you want to try and ban the Loki. Admittedly, going up against Loki, it should have been a lot better for Jakao because there were so many free resets to that Kraken Impact. But the thing is, they didn't get to poke for long enough to build up the Kraken Impact enough for it to really make a difference. And we're going to head into our second map soon. This is going to be Shock's choice, I imagine. And now we're going to have to see how our bans iterate.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if they end up picking a domination map or going for something that'll bring a bit more chaos. They're able to get a bit more dive in. Because, like you said, I feel like when you're just kind of losing the standoff of the Winter Soldiers, the shield tanks, it's like, all right, let's introduce a bit of chaos and see what could happen.
Now, let's introduce some highlights as well. Check out what just happened, and we'll be right back with map number 2. You have been sheltered by the break for far too long. Map number 2 is coming at you soon between WePlayWolv and Shox. At the moment, WePlayWolv seem to be in a domineering position, not only on match point, but also winning out in these duelist face-offs quite significantly.
Yeah, I mean, they were winning in the 1v1s, they were winning in the team fights, they were winning in the 1v2s. Like, it was dominant play coming out from WePlayWolves.
Yeah, like at that point, you gotta wipe that map from your memory and move on. Like it wasn't our map, you know. Sometimes like just luck of the draw. WePlayWolv just a lucky game, you know. It's like my mouse ran out of charge. I was playing with a Wii steering wheel. Classic cope excuses that we'll get through, as Shox are gonna now have some chances to iterate their bans and try and figure out where WePlayWolv were really able to really drive for screws in the last game.
Yeah, and we got to remember, right? This is lower bracket, so I mean, Shox really needs to get it together, or they are just out. We are now finally gonna jump into the game and see what Shox can do, see what they can change up in picks and bans, see again if they want to get a little bit more chaotic, a little bit more brawly. We can already see some hovers on things like the Wolverine. I'm curious to see if that'll end up getting protected.
I think we did say, I think we saw it potentially banned out as the second ban from Shox previously, who did ban the Venom once again. They really don't want to deal with that, which is interesting, considering they were very happy to try and play the Namor. Hell, are going to be banned here by WePlayWolv. Likely, well, potentially they're happy to just try and manufacture the same matchup again that happened previously, given how one-sided it was in favor of WePlayWolv.
Yeah, you know, wanting, I'm sure, to deny some flyers, deny some of that can come through, but actually it's going to be the Wolves themselves that protect the Wolverine. So we're going to see if they're going to be able to find any value getting into the opposing backline. Thing value definitely being raised too, with that Yancey Street charge being able to lock him down. But now, where will they go? Oh, keeping the Magneto alive. So you did have some decent Meteor M's in that first map.
Yeah, I'd say so. Allura getting some value out of it as well, but the Magneto definitely using that metallic bulwark is a good, if one of the only countermeasures to Wolverine grabbing a more vulnerable Vanguard like Kazumiya, who we assume is probably going to be playing on this again. I wouldn't mind seeing Magneto Thing, which is probably the least susceptible to being bullied by a Wolverine, and both teams are going to be locking in Logan himself. So I'll have to see if Ziku here is actually going to pick up the Thing, or if Kazumiya has simply stolen away their hero and says, deal with it.
Yeah, you know, hey, you know, team bonding in the server. But you're right, I do love the combination of Magneto Thing, not only hard to get bullied, but I also just like the combination of having something a bit more aggressive can output that damage like the Thing, and then having your shield tank being the Magneto. You can always support him with that metallic shield as well. But now it's going to be, hey, Shox, can you step up? Things are looking incredibly different. We have the Wolverine online, so it's going to be a lot about how people like Jocko and Wengro can perform.
Heading over onto Midtown. First point, early holds defined by high grounds, later holds defined by lane control with long-range poke. And Loki can really excel there with lack of damage drop-off, and not even having to be direct, just using spell field damage, can really start racking up that long-range pressure, as well as really create a healing deficit between Vanguards if they can set up properly.
Exactly right. He really just drives in every point of this map. Even here, Loki doing so well with a ton of verticality to place your clones, nearly pull off crosshair placement, but we're going to see shots just try to force their way through, but already going down to Sandy, showing just what you were saying, Leg Day.
Yeah, but the Loki, I'm surprised you didn't see a ban, to be honest. If one team is going to be leveraging it and the other isn't, you often want to be banning that Loki, unless you can really get some value out of playing the Kraken Impact resets into it. And thus far, Plushies is obviously not going to have a Kraken Impact. Oh, Luther wasn't even the main Winter Soldier player previously, but has already put down the hurt after Wengrow picked up the Wolverine duties.
Yeah, and I mean, hell, they invested a ban to try to lessen his impact, right? They took Namor off the table, but still he's going to find it now. The Things just throwing down pretty much in the octagon by their lonesomes. We're going to see Wolverine try to get involved, but not going to be able to find it. We're at the point where Luthern does have that first Kraken Impact online, their very first ult of this game.
Oh, Decal already down. Luthern maybe looking to just try and put the boot in here, but so close to spawn, it might not be so worthwhile investing this early. Remember, you can get a temporary stun on that thing, even if you can't pull him in using the Bionic Hook. He's actually just going to be going straight into a Guardian Shield here of Sue Storm, but at the moment, Loki is moisturized, unbothered, and in his lane. He's looking beautiful down there. Luthern looks a little bit less pretty as a couple of Rollerstone bullets are taken to the face. Wengrow manages to turn it around by taking out their counterpart. Clobbering time turns up multiple players are shocked. But here we go. Can you try and shut down this invisible boundary? Utilizing the Meteor M. Oh, Wrecker went so low and the finish came through off the back of beautiful accuracy from the Magneto.
Yeah, that was great. Meteor M finds the follow-up shot and now still stuck in their base. They're still going to have some ultimates to play with, but WePlayWolves have 3 of their own.
Allura using their own metallic bulwarks, trying to stop themselves from being dragged in. I think instead Loki clone was pulled in by Plushies. Well, there's a Kraken Impact now, ready to go. This is the power spike against the Loki for Plushies, but we're going to need to be protected, possibly by that metallic bulwark, but also maybe a well-placed spotlight coming through from the Lunar Snow to keep them well healed.
Oh, Kraken Impact does come out.
Seems like it's mostly afflicting the Vanguards, but now difficult to try and make the culling happen. Instant clobbering time, the Vanguards. Oh, they never saw it coming. And it seems like it's another Kraken Impact. Is Luthern lapping Plushies at the moment? The domination from WePlayWolv is off the charts.
Yeah, not even able to get this convoy moving whatsoever. Great job consistently holding onto those ultimates to find big counterplays. Shock's going to try and find a bit of a flank for themselves, but just
Okay. Rota Stern going up against Plushies. To be expected, a last stand grabs even more in the corner. No one can hear you scream. Even if WePlayWolves wants to scream louder and louder, Feral Lip doesn't even need to connect. As the remainder of WePlayWolves will back away after touching spawn door for the alpha points.
That's what I need.
Well, now poke for now. Iceart's going to cleave through many. An attempt out of freeze actually grabs Allura. A nice grab, speaking of which. Right click needs to be used from Wolverine's trying to escape this. As up to the sky goes the Meteor M. Final blows found off the back of it as Wrecker just drags everyone forward from shots, desperately trying to find that sustainability. Binary can turn Turvis one around in their own right as well. Oh, the metallic bulwark! It's stopped the reset coming through. Plushies has stopped it all and can't get too much off the back of this, but the Rota Stern, the raw mechanics is where Plushies are going to try and make it happen. Kraken Impact, don't even need it, bro. I got everything I need right here in my hands. It's got 3 bullets in it and a hope and a dream.
Let's keep fighting until we have a winner. They made it halfway.
Missing Lyric for now, so just me chatting like day on a little bit of a date.
sorry, like your date is over.
Welcome back.
Yeah. Was it a good date?
Yeah, I'd say it's 7 out of 10. Clobbering time, maybe a little bit of a better date, I don't know. What can I say? Some people like it rough. Last stand towards the outside, dragged outside of the invisible boundary. Toucher, getting a touching done right now. Might be able to find that Luna. Quick play off the Feral Leap, entering that Berserk state. The damage is knocking up fast here. It's yet another Cosmic Fastball, getting even more off the back of that Berserk state. Damaging play after damaging play, brought out by the Wolverine, and WePlayWolv living up to their name.
Yeah, huge. You know, I might not have been in the call for the end of it, but I did see dominating team fights. coming out from WePlayWolves. I really liked how they utilized that Wolverine thing combo. And I mean, I think you hit on it really well. If you yourselves are not playing the Loki, felt like it really should have been taken off the board because Sandby's been finding immense value on the pick.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the stats at the end for how much Sandby's been doing in terms of raw throughput on that Loki. Often we've seen that even with Lunas in the lobby, when it comes to top level of Marvel Rivals, the clone uptime is so strong that Loki is often not only putting out top healing in the lobby, but sometimes some very respectable damage as well. Because you can be getting about 120 damage per shot when all of your spell fields are hitting, when you got those angles. And at the beginning of Midtown, you certainly have those angles.
Yeah, they have those to play with, and again, having the verticality, having lanes to be able to play through. We're gonna see if the defensive side can go better for Shocks. Again, it feels like the problem is they're losing out on a lot of those 1v1 duels. They're getting picked off. We'll see if they decide to actually change anything up with their composition.
Maybe a change here or there. I feel like we're not seeing enough value out of the Force Physics here from Marty. I'd love to see some combo pulls between the Bionic Hook of plushies and then Marty getting a Force Physics thereafter, especially on something like a Magneto, where really putting him out of position can be a real debilitator for that Vanguard. Oh, wow.
Oh,
Came through. My goodness, what a boomerang play coming through. Captain Boomerang's the wrong IP, but Wolverine's looking right now.
yeah, and you know, I feel like you just willed it into existence, bringing him out of position. Now gonna try to force their way through, man. That one felt so bad to watch.
Oh, that's kind of wild. Luther down main, headshot into body. That'll do to get rid of Marty. Next up is the Winter Soldier on the opposing side. You can't stand up to the Stone Haymaker. Bro is going to bring it home. Jakal down as well. And well, this is a very fast first fight here. Probably going to be a little bit of a finisher onto Wrecker as well. EMEA has once again met the business end of Wolverine. And there's no space to recontest. WePlayWolv will speedrun their way through round 7 of the lower bracket.
Great to see from them. Honestly, it was really just a whole team performance, looking a cut above the Shocks. Vanguard's doing a great job, seeing a great performance from Wen on that Wolverine, even if Alora did have a bit of a rough time. And yeah, just a lot of, I'd say, standard stuff in what we've been seeing in a lot of the top tier teams with the picks that have come through. And now I'm just going to be excited to see what they could do in the next round.
It'll be interesting to see if we get the stats at the end screen here. It'd be nice to see what Sandby was bringing out. Yeah, 16k healing. Not too much to write home about, but in the end, the damage wasn't that much to deal with coming through from Shocks just because they had so much trouble staying up and about in the midst of all of this. Only getting a 3-6 off the back of a Wolverine. 18-0, by the way, for WenGro. WePlayWolverine, definitely living up to their name.
Yeah.
This is a mirror match you might not want to take if you want a top-tier Wolf team.
No, definitely not. And it's like you said, right? All the teams in this tournament have footage of all the other teams because it's just right there in the client. So we'll see if WenGro is able to get his hands on that Wolverine again.
Yeah, like we're gonna wander as we get deeper into these games. Like the faster you win your rounds in the lower bracket as well, the more time you have to review your next opponent and maybe get a little bit of a ban lowdown coming in, especially if you're going up against a team that's not quite as well known. We've got a couple of teams who may well be known factors. Say if you're going up against Queequeg, formerly Twisted Minds, maybe you ban Squirrel Girl, maybe you ban the Human Torch because you know that Case is going to be playing one of those and you try and just like freeze him out of his preferred hero picks. Maybe you ban the Thor that Lakaya wants to play. And if you're playing against, say, OG, you're going to ban Wolverine every time. You do not want to deal with Tanuki on Wolverine. So there's a lot that our teams can do to really iterate.
Yeah, so like you said, just there's so much in this kind of tournament format. Like we said, if you're just tuning in, like if you were gold, anyone could have entered this tournament. You could have started a faction. You could have been involved. Right now, we are round 7, narrowing down 32 teams down to 16. And it looks like hopefully we're getting close to that next match. We just saw WePlayWolves take down the Shocks. And yeah, it looks like we are getting close to time to getting to our next game. Like days. Actually, this time I'm the one that forgets the highlights. Bring them up.
Have a look at these.